Welcome to the Corporate to Coach podcast. I'm Pamela, a former corporate professional turned certified life and business coach and mentor. If you're ready to sign clients, grow your soul-led coaching business, and shed the employee identity so you can step fully into business ownership, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Corporate to Coach podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Cassie Mendoza-Jones. Cassie is a best-selling author of the Hay House published You Are Enough, It's All Good, and Aligned and Unstoppable. I personally have read two of her books and they are both freaking incredible. So I highly recommend you go check them out. I'll put them in the show notes. Cassie is also a kinesiologist, an NLP practitioner, and a business alignment coach, writer, and public speaker. Working with Cass releases the pressure you're placing on yourself, reconnects you with self-trust, and builds what's next for you, steeped in deep belief and big possibility. And this episode is going to be co-published on Cassie's own podcast, Love What You Create. So if you're here from the Love What You Create podcast, hello, lovely to connect with you. I'm Pamela Pritchard and I'm a business mentor for life coaches. Cassie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to be here.
Yay. So I invited Cassie because I have worked with Cassie. Cassie's been my coach. We worked together, I think it was 2024, I want to say, like year before last.
2020, possibly even 2023, but around maybe 2024.
Yeah, it was longer than a year for sure, because I did quite a lot with you.
Yes.
It was so good. Oh my gosh. You helped me launch my first group program. Those of you who have been with me for a long time might remember your first paid client, and then that became your next paid client group program. And oh my gosh, every time I speak about that program, I gush. It was such a beautiful program. And when I remember the version of me that created that and how you helped me bring that into the world, the work you do is just magic. It is so beautiful, and it is why I continue to just love what you do, and always I'm always watching, I'm always always listening to your podcast. And last year when I was in Sydney, I had the pleasure of actually hanging out with Cassie. We had coffee. I think it was coffee. I don't think we got food in the end, did we? But
we didn't get food. We got there and they were like, we only do coffee. We're like, this is fine.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah. So we had to make do, but I felt like I could have spoken with you all day. It was the best. It was the best. So Cassie, I've introduced you, but tell me about your business journey of what led you to where you are today.
Okay. So I want to say, when we went for coffee last year and you brought me those ladybird what are they called? Not earbuds. What are they called? Earrings. Yeah. I just wanted to thank you again and everyone, because ladybirds were my little symbol over the last 18 months of my life. And it was just so sweet that you had followed that through Instagram and that you knew. And then you brought me these beautiful earrings, which I just love so much. So thank you again for that.
I saw them and thought of you. I was actually trying to buy some jewelry for me for my Sydney trip. And I'm in the shop and I saw them and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to have to get them. There's got Cassie written all over it. So I ended up buying you something instead.
Okay, so my journey, listen, I loved high school so much. My last few years of high school were like the best years ever. And so I thought, and I loved writing. I've always been a writer. So in my head, I was like, I'm going to do journalism. This is going to be the best. I loved my last year of high school, that I thought I would love uni, because I love learning and studying and highlighters and pens and all that jazz. I go to uni and I'm like, this is horrible. I hated it. And so to kind of keep myself going, I started to do a makeup course at night and on weekends, because I come from a very creative family and I felt like I needed something to just connect me back to just having fun with life. I was like, I've just finished school. Why do I hate uni? What am I doing? I could be having fun and feeling more connected to my work or to what I'm learning. And I loved makeup. So I ended up deferring uni. Long story short, I ended up going to live in Canada for 6.5 months to study there, because when I was studying at uni, I was meant to go live in Italy with my best friend for a year doing international studies. She ended up going and I did not. And I was like, I don't want to miss out on that living abroad study experience. So I went to Canada, Came home and everyone said it's going to take you like 3 to 4 years to get a makeup agency, which is where you get repped by an agent who does your bookings and, gets you great jobs and organizes the invoicing, and you just arrive, do your work and leave. And I was like, 3 to 4 years, watch me. And I got an agent in 13 months just by working. I worked really hard, but I was really clever about it. So I made friends with all the top makeup artists in Sydney. I emailed every agency every Monday, every Sunday night or Monday. Hey, it's Cass again. I'm free this day, this day, this day. And so I was their first point of call every time I needed an assistant for these top artists every week. So within a few weeks, I was booked out assisting the top makeup artists, learning everything. Yes, getting coffees a lot of the time, but also standing there on shoots and on set doing incredible work. And after a while, they give you more and more responsibility. Sometimes if there's an extra model that they can't do, when they trust you, they get you to do that other person. So I learned how to build rapport quickly, or at least I realized I was good at building rapport, working with new people every day, thinking on my feet. And over time, I stopped loving makeup and realized how much I love nutrition, naturopathy, kinesiology, and the bits of makeup that I loved, I ended up feeling resentful about. I didn't want to work on a different shoot every week. I didn't want to not know what I was doing every single week. Meanwhile, I've always been an entrepreneur, so it is up and down, as we know. But I decided to move into nutrition and naturopathy first. Then I brought in kinesiology, and just the beautiful blend ended up meaning that I moved away from the very physical health and wellness focus of nutrition, naturopathy, herbal medicine, and into the more energetic, spiritual mindset work of kinesiology. I At around the same time as I started the kinesiology, maybe a year later, I went to the Hay House Writers Workshop, won my book deal for You Are Enough, which was such a beautiful, completely changed the trajectory of my business, really. Wrote It's All Good the year after that. A couple years later, wrote Aligned and Unstoppable. And my work it's always evolving. Like it never ever stays stagnant. Or if it feels stagnant, I know a big change is coming. And it's just I've let it evolve over now 15 years of working in my business. I still do makeup on the side, so if you've got my number and you call me and I'm free, I do makeup. But my biggest work is working with women in their businesses, working with them on their beliefs, working with them to build their body of work. Which, as you've seen, we do all of that together. So it's business, body of work, belief work, with the energetics, with the kinesiology. I brought tapping in over the last 18 months, and then I just keep seeing what's next, basically.
I love it. And so, how long have you been coaching for? When did the coaching and mentorship come in?
Yes. So I would say in around 2014. So I started my kinesiology studies 2013, because what I was finding was I would help a client. Let's say a client came to me and they were feeling really stuck physically. There was a physical issue going on. Maybe it was a hormonal issue or a gut issue, or maybe they were feeling anxious or depressed. And there was only so much I could do in the talk part of the work. I could give them the herbs and I could talk them through diet changes and lifestyle changes and mindset work as well. It comes in a little bit in that work. But I couldn't make them take their herbs, and I couldn't always get to the block of like, why are they feeling this way, or why are they not, here's the herbs. They'd come back to me. Let's say I gave them a bottle of 2 weeks of a dose of liquid herbal medicine. They'd come back after 3 weeks and say, oh no, I've still got half the bottle. And I'm like, you should actually have finished that a week ago. So I brought the kinesiology in because for me, I would rather read someone's energy than read their blood test. So it's not that I use kinesiology as a way to, I'm not going to muscle test, are you low in iron? There are kinesiologists who do that on a more nutritional level. But for me, the work shifted from the physical health and wellness focus to finding emotional, energetic, and spiritual blocks using the kinesiology. And so then very organically, the work shifted from hormonal health or whatever I was working with on a physical level to much more of the life work, creativity. And then very naturally, I started to align with calling in a lot more entrepreneurs, small business owners, other naturopaths, nutritionists, life coaches. Like, so life coaching and wellness coaching and health coaching was massive in 2014. Like, sorry, that the health coaching was massive in that at that time, like more so than I think now. So I brought in a lot of like health coaches, and just other service-based wellness women.
Mhm.
And so my work, I would say around 2014 is when my work shifted into more mindset coaching, because I remember there was a point where I looked at my calendar and I was booked like 6 weeks in advance with one-on-one sessions. So I didn't even offer packages at the time. And most of the sessions were kinesiology, and most of them were business-y focused or creativity focused or career focused, not just purely life work. And that was when I really looked at, why am I offering naturopathy and kinesiology like that? I'm actually just going to start to blend the sessions. So you just book one session with me and you just get a combination, or you get more of whatever you need in that session. And then after a few months of that, I was like, I'm going to just slowly phase out the naturopathy work. I still, would make herbs for my clients or recommend or prescribe herbs for years afterwards. But for me, there was this real lightness in my body when I was doing the energetic work compared to, oh, let's read your blood test and let's try work out, is it this food or is it that food? That to me, my body started to energetically feel quite heavy. I think I probably was taking on too much responsibility to try and make my client feel well physically,
Mm.
as opposed to energetically. I can help them do the balancing. I can do the balancing rather, help them shift their energy, give them that integration homework that their body is, it's coming up in the session for them to do. And then I can release that and breathe it out and just trust them on their way between sessions. Whereas I feel like in hindsight, and I was obviously doing my best, I was holding too much for my clients in the physical health side because I wanted them to feel better and I wanted them to do well, but I can't make someone change their breakfast. You know what I mean? Whereas there's a difference when I say to someone, here's your goal, here's the block, here's what's coming up, and we shift it at the end of the session. I can take a breath and release it and trust my client. And also I think it's probably because that comes much more naturally to me. The naturopathy work, I loved it, and I can still open a herbal medicine cabinet and just know what someone needs. But there was a different level of responsibility for me, I think, because of the way my brain had to work a little bit harder to remember blood test results and like parameter, all like what's low iron and what's high. And I'm like, this is not, I love it, but this is not my very innate gift. That's not it. And so I would say my long answer to your short question is 2014 would be when I brought in the mindset coaching, and it just built and built from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask this. Forgive me if this is like, oh my God, back to basics,
Please.
but I swear this is for the benefit of someone in the audience too. I promise. What is kinesiology?
Good question.
Dare
So,
I ask?
absolutely. And I love that you asked that, because here I am talking about it, and probably lots of people don't know what it means. So, kinesiology, one of the best ways to describe it, and I'll give a few explanations, okay? But I remember one of my teachers, as we were starting, said to us, one of the best ways to understand how this works in the body is if you think about the basis of chiropractic. So, the way that a chiro would help balance and adjust the body and help the body feel well in its totality. So, if you combine chiro with the energetics of traditional Chinese medicine, or I'm going to say TCM for short, but we're doing so, we're balancing the body without the cracking of chiro and without the needles of acupuncture or TCM work. And so, in a nutshell, it's a way of finding subconscious or unconscious blocks and things that are preventing you and blocking you from feeling the way you want to feel, showing up the way you want to show up, creating what you want to create in your life, receiving what you want to receive in your life. It's a way of finding and clearing those blocks using muscle testing to tap into the subconscious mind, so we can bypass the brain, like the conscious mind, which is like, either we can say to ourselves, I'm getting in my own way, and sit in that energy, which I'll probably say today at another point. Saying to yourself, I'm getting in my own way, is like my worst spiritual bypass line on Instagram ever, because I deeply don't believe we're ever getting in our own way. So I can discuss that more in a minute. But either we'll say I'm getting in my own way, or we'll say there's no problem. I don't understand. I don't know why I'm blocked. And you'll know from being in a group coaching session with me, if one of my clients, if I say to them, here's what's going on, or if they tell me what's going on and I say, well, why? If they say, I don't know, I don't believe that. That's their conscious mind protecting them from knowing the reason, because once you know the reason, you're going to shift it. If you can have that self-reflection and higher levels of self-responsibility, which most of my clients, I would say all my clients have. So I will say, everyone's least favorite question, well, if you did know, what would it be? And it sounds really funny. You're
The
nodding, yeah.
classic coaching question. I love it. Yeah.
Classic. If you did know, what would it be? Even though it's still, I'm consciously asking you, it does work, I found, to unlock the unconscious, just even if it's just like 10%,
Mhm.
because all of a sudden you're opening up to possibility in a way that you weren't before. And even if you think you're making it up, you're actually accessing a different answer that's sitting just below the surface.
Mm.
So, with the kinesiology, I would, in person, when I used to work in person, a client would lie down on a massage table. So, like, she would chat to me first sitting up, then she'd lie down. And if you're watching on video, I would get her to lift one of her arms, like, so her elbow is still by her, kind of by her hip or her waist, but her one arm is up, and I muscle test her arm while she's lying down. When I'm doing it online, I muscle test myself. So you can't really, my arm will be down under the table, but also because I've been doing this work for so long and I'm very intuitive and guidance will drop in, I actually rarely muscle test anymore. I will muscle test to be, to find the remedy. But once I look at my kit here, I will instinctively know which tool or remedy we need. As I open a page, I'll know it's page 3. I'll know it's 90. So I'll still muscle test, I'd say 50% of the time, but there's a big chunk where it's dropping in, or I use the muscle testing to get me halfway there and then intuition to take me to the end. But it's just such a beautiful way because the connections that will drop in a session, you can't make up what comes through, and the clearing and the releases, and then the way we will, like the remedies that will come up will be, sometimes it's an acupressure point to rub or hold. Sometimes it's EFT tapping that we do to help clear blocks in the body and to help get the meridians and the energy system flowing beautifully. Sometimes there'll be an affirmation or a sabotage will come up, or an essence will come up, or I've created my own deck of energy balancing cards, the belief balance deck. So I might pull a card and be like, well, what's this emotion that's coming up? Where's the emotion sitting? We'll use tapping, we'll use somatic work to clear it. I'll use NLP. So it's just a way of being like, oh, how can we shortcut? How can we get to the answer of what's blocking you and how to clear it and what you need next, in a way where we can bypass the conscious mind and still get to this beautiful root cause of what's going on, and then not just what's going on but what your body wants to remedy this.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And I love the way that you bring in all of these beautiful tools. It doesn't surprise me that EFT is now such a bigger part of your practice as well, because my understanding of EFT is that it's all you're working with the meridians, which sounds like it's all very much what you're doing in kinesiology as well. And the way that I've seen, I mean, I've been the recipient of your magic in business practices, and this has practical implications in how you create offers, the choices you make from pricing, marketing strategy, the way that you show up, and then navigating the challenges of growing your business and being in your power and being able to be in alignment as you move forward every day. It is such a sweet space. And one of the things I've always really loved and appreciated about your work is that it really does allow you to, I don't know if slow down is the right word, but there is such a sense of peace, like walking in calm amongst the storm is how it feels when I'm in your spaces,
Yeah.
because it really is. There can be a storm of, I know for me, when I'm in your spaces, I feel that I'm very headstrong. I tend to be very clear in what I want, what I'm creating. I'm highly intellectual. I'm also very cerebral, and that's a benefit in many ways.
Yes.
And I know my work is to remember to connect to the emotions that I'm experiencing and
Yes.
to feel somatically what's happening in my body. And our work together gave me that doorway. Your belief balance cards also gave me that doorway to like connect to the knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine. I'm guessing that's where the knowledge comes from in terms of
Yeah.
the body parts and what they reflect, and all of that wisdom has just naturally now become part of how I move through my business a lot more. Um, I don't know where I'm going with that. I just felt called to share that
I
reflection.
love that. And also I love, and can I say that, like, I think sometimes, as you said, when we're very logical and rational and we think things through really deeply, as you said, sometimes we forget that part of almost like the glue, I want to say, that can bind that together is that emotion side and understanding how you're feeling and then processing it and shifting it. And you're remarkable at doing that and then being able to feel what you're feeling and shift it out somatically. And I think sometimes we forget it doesn't just because you're very rational and logical and you think, in that kind of linear pathway, it doesn't mean you can't also work with your body and your energy and your emotions to shift what's feeling stuck, because then that logical pathway actually feels clearer and easier and you don't have to work so hard to be in it, and things that felt like either things that felt like a block disappear, or ideas that you obviously couldn't access yet because you weren't they the thing with possibility energy is always available to us, but we're not always available to receive it depending on the energy that we're in. It exists whether you're ready for it or not. It's about readying yourself for it so that you can actually receive that, the fifth idea, the sixth idea, the 100th idea that you haven't thought of, because potentially, and not, I don't say you, but one is maybe very sold on, they've sold themselves on the idea of, no, this is how it has to work. And if it doesn't work this way, I've failed. Or if it doesn't work this way, I don't know what I'll do next. But a lot of my work is saying, well, there's a third answer and you don't know it yet. And you're not
Yes.
meant to know it yet because the time is not right. Or let's find that emotion. Let's clear that stress. Let's clear that block. Let's do this tapping sequence. Let's sit here and somatically clear your field and shift what's getting in the way. Let's align with or something better energy, and then something else will rush in, because there's that beautiful old saying, and what nature abhors a vacuum. So nature hates, anything that's natural. If you go to the beach and you dig a hole, it's not there tomorrow,
Mm.
right? So we have to make space to receive what's next. And doing so when we are very logical and when we do think things through and we like the A to B and we like to be able to tick things off a list and cross our T's and dot our I's, actually the energetic work holds that beautifully for us, um, and helps that work become easier on our system, which means it's more sustainable, it's more enjoyable, and it's
Yes.
also work that nourishes you and doesn't become draining.
Yes. And that's what I loved about when we did my first group together. I came to you not because there was a problem. It was,
Yeah.
I'm ready to bring this next iteration of my business through. And I just hadn't, the timing was so perfect. And I think this is a beautiful reminder for the audience as well. The
Mm.
timing was so perfect in terms of when you released it.
Yes.
I happened to be literally thinking, oh, I have this idea, I want to bring it through. There wasn't a business problem per se. It was just, oh, you are creating a pathway. And I felt like I was the perfect client for that. I was like, well, this is perfect. This is exactly what I would love. This is
Mm.
the kind of support I would love to have as I bring this group to life.
Yes.
And so it was like entering that first group. I can still remember where I was because I was pet sitting at the time and traveling so much. And I remember being in this beautiful big house, and I remember the desk that I was in. I remember the first session that we had. And I remember when you gave us the spaciousness to be able to just put language to the ideas that were coming through. And it just felt so aligned and so easeful. And as I reflect on this in hindsight, it is such a beautiful reminder to me that whatever we create, yes, there's so much value in like marketing to pain points and marketing to solving problems, but it's also important to remember that those problems and the things that we're helping our clients solve aren't actually problematic things always. They're
Yes.
not like negative things always, or that things are going wrong. In your instance, I think it was oh, what start to scale, I think you
How
called
to
it.
scale. Yes.
Yeah, and that premise was you're ready to bring your first group into the world. Like, yeah, that's the start point, but I wouldn't call it a
Yes.
problem or a
No.
pain. It's just that's the start point, and the end point is that you want to have a group by the end of it. And that was perfect for me at the time. And I think there's a big lesson in what you get to create in that, and how we get to create things that are just reflections of the kind of growth that we want to invite our clients into, that
Yes.
might spark some beautiful offer ideas for our audience today. But also the alignment you get to feel when you are just creating from such a place of possibility.
Yes.
What comes up for you as I say that? So I know I'm just talking here
No,
and
I
you're
love it. So, and I'm
bouncing
making notes
it.
because for everyone later we're gonna do some tapping, and so I'm making little notes. If you're watching the video, you see me writing. That's what I'm doing. So you know what? It was start to scale, and that means it was 2023 because that's when I ran start to scale.
There
How
we
long?
go. Okay.
So it's exactly what you said. Start to scale was born from expansion, not contraction.
Mm,
And it was born from the space of like, everyone who did that had to be at a certain point in their business of needing or wanting to move into that next level of growth, because I am a massive supporter of clients doing one-on-one work before group work.
same.
And I don't do any rules. I will never give a client a rule. But personally, I think to do one-on-one work gives you a deeper, faster insight into working with your clients. And then you build that into a group program. So everyone in that space was either moving from one-on-one to group, or expanding their group work, or adding the group into their one-on-one. So they had a hybrid business model. But there wasn't one client who came from just, zero to group, because I think you miss so much growth and learning and understanding of your business and your clients and your own process. And I also think there's so much confidence built in one-on-one that then doing a group, people might feel nervous to move from one-on-one to group just because of the idea of speaking to a group of people. But actually, the crux of it is that you know exactly what you're talking about. You're just doing the one-to-many, but you already feel so clear about the one-to-one work.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing, like in the online business space, we're so often told, look for the pain point, look for the contraction, look for how you're helping. And that's one way to do it. And like, absolutely, we want the clients to be able to see the transformation, see themselves in the transformation that we're offering. But at this, that's on one hand. On the other hand, that transformation can be born from expansion
Mhm.
and not contraction. And that's exactly what Start to Scale was. And that's exactly why, as you said, you came in at the perfect point for your business, because you were like, there's nothing wrong, but I want this and better. I want this and more.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of this beautiful quote from, oh my gosh, what's her name? Lisa, someone, it's going to come to me. She was one of the presenters. She left, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she was on channel 9, I think, or 10. Anyway, whoever, if you're listening, you might know who I'm talking about. She said, I went to watch her speak years ago, over a decade ago, and she said, you can be grateful and ask for more. And I think that sounds like where you were at. You're like, I'm really grateful for my business and I'm ready for more. I'm grateful and I'm going to ask for more. And that's what that Start to Scale was. Because for me, I was like, scaling, I mean, even just doing group work, it's been a part of my business since 2013, 14. So I started my business 2011. So within 2 years, I was running a group program. But it really hit me in 2022 when I came back from mat leave after having my second baby, because I had 2 kids then. By then I came back to work when he was about 6 months old. My daughter at that time was 3, and I only was working 2 half days a week in my business, like with clients, and then some nights and naps. But I had a 6-month-old baby, and I really wanted to work as little as possible and be home as much as I could. Uh, and I remember sitting on the couch when he was 4 months old and being like, the only way I'm going to hit any income goals is by, yes, I can sell high ticket. And I did. I sold my coaching packages at that time for 6 to 10K. And I said, but the best way for me to do this is to run my mastermind and to sell, 5 or 8 to 10 spots at 3 to 4K a spot for 6 months. And then I can work 90 minutes a week instead of 10 hours a week and see those 10 clients. And I was like, that's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell 10 spots at, I think it was 3K at the time. And then I sold 2 or 3 6K packages. And by the time he was 6 months old and I was starting work, I had had a 42 or 45K launch, well, income period in the first 6 weeks of coming back to work. And I could just like exhale, because my income for that first 6 months felt very, very expansive for working 6 hours a week in the business and a few naps and nights. So let's say 10 hours a week for 45K, obviously across 6 months. But just knowing that I had done that from not having to work 10, 20 hours a week was just such a beautiful support for my life at that time. And that's what Start to Scale, that's why I created Start to Scale. Because I was like, I can still sell extra one-on-ones, but I've decided the year, knowing I've got 45K of sales as a new mum to 2 kids, and I could exhale. And I was like, I want people to be able to do that, because we can scale, we can work more and make more money, or we can work the same and make more money, or we can work less and make more money. But I want to help people do like the last two, right? Like,
Yes.
there's no point thinking I've got to work more and more and more and have more one-on-ones and more one-on-ones. It's like, great, that's an option. Increase the price and then sell a group and sell 5 or 10 spots in the group. And, I hate saying like package your expertise, as in like it's a really well used phrase, but it's true. Like, put it in a group package and then just exhale a little bit, because you've sold in advance, and then you can just rest and deliver the work with much less time in your calendar.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much. And when you are at that place where you have the experience and the confidence in your coaching and delivery, and for whatever reason, kids or otherwise, you want to be able to either just serve more people at once, or for personal reasons to condense your time more effectively,
Mm.
taking it into that group or mastermind format is, I mean, that was one of the reasons I wanted to. My reason for doing it and opening my first group, and I didn't go straight into a mastermind. I went, the group I created with Start to Scale, the your first paid client
Yes.
program, was a 5-week container
Yeah.
to begin with. And it was called Your First Paid Client because I said to myself, if I was a brand new coach, freshly certified, and I wanted to sign my first paid client, how long could it take? And it took me, I believe, I want to say 3 weeks, but now I'm thinking, was it 6? Where's 6 coming from? I think my first payment was 3 weeks.
Hmm.
When I just like from the moment I decided I was ready to be paid as a coach, I got paid within 3 weeks. And I have a feeling I did 5 because I was like, okay, I need to, that's me. What about,
Yes.
that doesn't mean everyone's going to do
Giving a
that.
buffer.
So I was like, give a buffer.
Yeah.
And and it was, yeah, and it was incredible. And it was about 6 months after that I did my first mastermind.
Oh, so good.
And that was like, okay, I'm going to actually give like all of my expertise. This isn't just like one transformation. This is going to be the build your business offer. And that was when my mastermind decided came through. And it was really, really special seeing a group of people come together who were all at the same place, ready for the same transformation,
Mm.
able to see each other and bounce off each other. There is something really special about a mastermind format,
Yeah.
which I haven't done a mastermind properly since Decided.
Yeah.
It's planting the seed, it's watering the seed again,
Yes.
actually, because it is a really special environment when you get the right people in and you can do it with that conviction. But
Yeah.
I want to ask the question I know I would be asking 10 times more if I was just listening to this.
Yes.
And I was earlier on in my business, 45K in a launch. Holy cow. Can we just take a moment to celebrate that? That's amazing. That with a newborn and a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
did you have any fear? Was it the work
Yes.
that we've talked about that helped you do this? Like, how did you do 45K?
So I will say, so that was a 30K mastermind launch. And then I sold, I can't remember if it was um 2 one-on-ones at 6K and a 10K. Like, basically and I can't remember if it was 42 or 45. That's why I'm like, it's
Oh, okay.
around, it was the 42 or 45K. My brain can't remember exactly, because I don't remember if it was 2 6s and a 10, like, but it was 3 one-on-ones um at the same time, because
Mhm.
that, for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna say this and I'll backtrack. But basically, I thought to myself, how can I make this work? I'm gonna drop my little boy. My daughter was at preschool that day. My little boy was at a daycare, and I only wanted him to go for 3 hours both days. I was like, how can I make this work? If I drop him at 8:30, and I pick him up at like 11:30, I was like, well, I could see 2 clients on the Wednesday, and I could run my one mastermind call on the Thursday. And I also started my podcast at the same time. I love a bit of a challenge. So I
Yeah.
started the podcast at the same time. And I was like, all right, every week, this is what I'm going to do: one podcast episode, whatever, one newsletter, because I've sent basically one weekly newsletter since 2011 or 12. Like, I send a newsletter. That's just, it happens every week. One newsletter, one podcast episode, one mastermind session, and 1 to 2 clients and then whatever social media I can manage. And I was like, that's going to be my week. Done. And I had so much fear because I had to pay, like at that time, paying for daycare and preschool was about 2K a month, $2,000 a month. Plus, I had my business expenses. So I needed to clear like 3K after tax just to pay childcare and my business. And that was before anything else for, life. And so I backtracked a bit and I was like, this is what I'm going to sell. This would be ideal. 10 feels like a really good number for this mastermind. And I had a lot of fear leading up to that. And in a way, there was a lot, the fear in, I would say around that October when he was about 2 months old, the fear just, I can feel it in my body and I can see where I was sitting on the couch and I was like, I need to work through this fear because I'm ruining my own mat leave. I'm living too far in the future. I have a 2-month-old baby. It was COVID's second wave, so my daughter was home much more. So she was 2.5, just over 2.5. And I was like, I just have to trust the F out of this, that I'm going to make this work. There's no way, there's no version where this doesn't work for me. It can be better than I expect. It can come out differently than I expect. Talk about decided. I was like, this is done. There is no version where I fail and I need to earn X amount or more of this money. And so what I decided, one of my mantras was, I earn, I can't remember the exact number, like let's say I earn 5 times as much as, how did I word it to myself? Basically, whatever I spend on childcare, I 10 times in my business, and I don't need to know how to know that that's true, or whatever the number was that I was upping, right? And I just then put everything into the creation and the marketing of this mastermind and the one-on-one. I had doubled the price of my one-on-one from the year before. And I was like, that's just it. It's just done. It's doubled. And that's it. And I had someone sign up immediately. And the mastermind, I just sold it as if it was literally the best mastermind in the entire world. And there was I still had fear, but I'm very good at feeling fear and being like, the fear isn't going to stop me because why would I let it stop me? I'm going to do it and I can do it scared. But I'm also going to do it with belief. And I really believe you can hold fear and belief at the same time.
Mm.
I think a lot of the time people think if I feel fear, that means I don't believe in myself. And I call BS on that because we're nuanced, complex humans and two things can be true at once. I can be, can I swear, shit scared and still be epic at something. Okay. I can stand on stage and feel nervous and know I'm going to deliver an incredible speech. I can be nervous before a launch and still trust I'm going to sell. So if I feel fear, I'm like, cool, I'm feeling the fear. It doesn't, yes, I have moments where I will flip out, like I'm human. So I'll have moments of like, this is too much and I need to process this. I need to calm this. I need to like move this through my body. And that's when I'll use my tools, tapping, NLP. I'll NLP myself all the time. I'll do a balance on myself. I'll pull a card. What's the emotion? Oh, here, look, perfectionism. Cool. Sounds like me. So I'll be like, great. Where's perfectionism getting in the way? Growth. Where am I not letting the growth move through me? Where am I stalling it? What's the next one? Disappointment. Where am I scared of disappointment? Okay. And what does that mean? And what does that mean? And what's possible with that? And for what purpose is that? And then I'll shift it. And then something will drop in. I'll feel different about something. And I'm like, great. This fear is different, has a different quality now. It's moved through my body. It's in a different space. It's smaller. It's not buzzing the way it was, but it's okay if it comes with me as long as it's not driving my actions, as long as it's not at the forefront of everything I do.
Mhm.
And the year after that, I had a $41,000 launch for the mastermind, which was actually the biggest mastermind launch because the one before, Luna, the one we're talking about here, was 30K. The one later was 41K. And that was right before, I would say right before my marriage was ending. And I still had a massive, massive launch. And so, again, two things can be true at once. So, how did I do it? Massive belief, really leaning on my tools, even with fear, because I can feel fear and still do it, not because I'm suppressing the fear, but because I can see it, process it, and carry on.
Thank you for sharing this. And my really logical brain, I'm so linear, it's painful sometimes. So I'm going to ask the question everyone's probably thinking.
Please.
With all of that, you said from an action perspective, I guess the strategy was you started your podcast that was weekly,
Mm-hmm.
you were doing your weekly email,
Mm-hmm.
and then social media when you could.
Mm-hmm.
What actually did that look like? If you can remember,
Yeah.
was it that you ended up showing up daily at least once? I know you're on Instagram. I think that's your primary social media platform.
Instagram Prime. Yes, at that time, yeah, the podcast was brand new. I didn't have I would have had my YouTube channel, but there would have been nothing on it. So what it looked like was actually selling most of the spots. I would say a lot of the spots I sold in the December of that year, and we were starting in Feb. So it was a lot of the selling was done through email and through the newsletter. At the time, from memory, my sales page was a Google Doc, which I'd never done before. I'm very, perfectionist was the first card I just pulled, even just like for my like demonstration purposes. And I was like, what's the quickest way to do this without me placing meaning on it that's going to create more stress? Because me, Cass, wants it to look beautiful, like better than perfect, and be done yesterday so I can send it out to all my clients. Cass with a baby and a toddler no. Cass with a baby and a toddler could do a 3-page Google Doc, and that it would link to my checkout page. So the system is built in the back end. I'm not doing that manually, but I can write a Google Doc in a few hours. It's going to take me much longer to set up the sales page, right? And I had a beautiful assistant helping me, but she wasn't trained in my system. So I was like, what is the simplest way I can do this that's not going to take the most time? And because where we place meaning on something matters, and the meaning we place on it matters. I'm not going to put meaning on the fact that this is a Google Doc and it's not pretty. Because does my Google Doc sell my mastermind, or do I? Does pretty sell my mastermind, or do I? Does a black and white document make my mastermind less valuable? No, because the value comes from me in the work, and that stays the same no matter what I'm selling through. And so that was a really big part of my belief work. Does the perfect sales page sell my mastermind? No. I'm not going to put meaning on that, because I'm going to make my life easier where I can. And if I have 5 hours to work on a sales page, or 5 hours to build out 10 podcast episodes to sell over the next 5 weeks to sell my mastermind, that's what I'm going to do. I decided that every single podcast episode was going to make me the equivalent of $1,000 back in my business. And I didn't need to know how to know that's true. And when I look back, it doesn't mean that I recorded an episode and $1,000 landed in my account immediately, right? It means that maybe over the course of 6 to 7 weeks, someone would listen to every episode and be like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to book her 6K one-on-one package. And lo and behold, a client emailed me one day, hey, can I book a 15-minute chat with you? Sure. How do you find me? I found your podcast. I binged every episode ever over the weekend, and she booked the 6K package. So the actions were that I sold a lot through my newsletter list and private emails to past clients. I'm sure there was an early bird, although I do not know. I think you probably got a bonus session, because I didn't want to reduce the value, the price of it. So I'm pretty sure it was a bonus session. And so then after that, it was emails, the podcast. I don't know if reels were a thing yet, so I'm going to say just
They would have been, but low key, yeah,
okay, yeah.
not the way
So
they are
either
now.
a reel or like stories or whatever it was. And so the social media was very much, I would say, in the background, because yes, I'm on Instagram often, but I think most of the work for me came through, most of the selling was done in my emails and my podcast. Um, and then the other version of the action was doing a balance on myself. I didn't have my cards yet, but I have other versions of, this is the chart that I learnt, kinesiology, well, the emotion chart that we study when we did ICPKP, so international, I can't remember, but professional kinesiology practice. So that I would do a balance and find the emotion and clear the block, right? And then a sale would come through. And I remember once getting a call. I had one spot left, and I was like, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell this. And I had a call. I did the sales call walking around with Jessie sleeping in the pram, walking around the suburb, did the sales call, and I can't remember which mastermind it was. So she signed up then, but then I've done another mastermind where I woke up and I had one spot that I wanted to sell. And I remember someone signed up the morning before we started. She signed up at like 8:30 and the first call was at 10. And for me, it just had to be done with ease, the selling. It doesn't mean I didn't feel fear. It doesn't mean I didn't worry, will I sell the last spot? Because I was just like, well, I'm going to keep doing what I do with full belief and make space for that. I said before, we can believe possibility energy is always there. It's always available to us, even if we're not always available to receive it. I kept reminding myself, it's always available to me. It's always available to me. It's always available to me. And I can feel fear and do the thing anyway. I can feel fear and also believe in myself. They don't actually cross each other out unless we let the actions, unless you act from fear. You can feel fear and still act from belief. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cassie, this was a masterclass in launching and how to build a masterclass, sorry, how to build a mastermind and how to sell from alignment. There are so many things that I'm like, wow, I think this is so many things that reaffirm the philosophies I've had that you probably taught me, to be honest, from the outset. I'm sure my clients will be like, this energetically feels so good because it just seeps through. But the the action taking was solid.
Mm,
Like, let's just be honest,
very
it was
solid.
it was solid. And who you are being and the connection to your trust in the trust is really, really powerful. And using the tools and staying the course, that piece around the duality of feeling the fear, but also holding the belief at the same time. So many powerful nuggets. Everyone, go back and just re-listen to this whole section again. Seriously, so many powerful nuggets in there. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And now you also mentioned, which I want to segue into, is at the second mastermind, your marriage is was coming to a completion.
Yes.
And it's something that actually, as the timing of this is going out, since it's going out pretty much a few days after we're recording this, and my last episode was on my holiday and how I navigated a holiday and taking 3 weeks off my business. I'm also going to be talking about in next week's episode privacy and how you can be public facing, have a, we share quite a lot of our lives and we're visible a lot. And I remember when you actually announced your separation and the way that you did that with so much grace and so much self compassion and so much personal power. And that was a decent amount of time after, I
Yes.
believe. And
Yeah.
you did that on your time, on your terms, on your timeline. And it is a beautiful example of how you can have a lot going on privately and still publicly be just as powerful in your business, even when I'm sure there were many moments where that was probably really hard to do.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yes. So even the first thing I want to say is, do you remember when I ran? I don't know if you did it, but I ran Show Up and Vibe
Yeah.
around at the same time as Start to Scale. And that I ran in hindsight at the time, I wouldn't have connected this. Okay. Surprise, surprise. But looking back, I'm like, oh, haha, here's a program about how to run a program when you're not feeling great in your life. And how to sell and how to be in your business. And I was like, this is just needed. And I look back and I'm like, Cass, why do you think it was needed? Like there was so much happening in my life. And I was like, hold on, I've still got to run it. I've still got to run my business. I have to show up and be myself to sell in this kind of business that we're in, right? Does that mean I need to be perfect to sell? No. Do I have to be in the best mood to sell? No. Do I need to be high vibe to sell? Absolutely not. Watch me, right? Here's what I do. So I created this 6-week program. I loved it. My clients loved it. And it was all about how to show up and sell when you aren't feeling high vibe. Because who can feel high vibe all the time? And high vibe often relies on external markers of success and accomplishment and achievement or validation being high vibe. Not always. That's a big generalization. But there are times where you can look at it and be like, oh, when things are going well in my life, I'm high vibe. Or when I feel really connected to high vibe, in air quotes, emotions, I'm high vibe. What do? I'm going to pull a card. When I am needing to sell, come on, cards, but I'm feeling heaviness. How do I sell? Yes, there's always a way to look after ourselves. And yes, I'm not, part of this and part of what I was learning was there will be days where I can't access what I need to show up in my business the way I want to. And how can I then give myself so much self-compassion and find other ways of showing up? Or if it's a day where I can do different work, beautiful. If it's a day where maybe I won't record a podcast today and I will do this instead, or whatever it is. And I found for me, like the client work, the one-on-one was always fine because I can always access what I need. And group work, I could always access that. For me, it was the marketing, selling, and creation that was harder to access because I think sometimes I would think to myself, oh, when I'm in high vibe, I'm more creative or I'm more able to access creativity and it flows through me more easily and I'm more motivated and I'm more disciplined and I'm more focused. And so I learned a lot about how to navigate not feeling amazing in my life, but processing it so I could still trust my creativity, trust what I was creating, but also honor my capacity and say to myself, you know what? Here's a list of podcast episodes and they're just going to have to wait. And that's okay. And no one is forcing me to do this. And I'm going to trust that I will be able to do the next thing that's important in my business. And there were definitely times where my income dropped a lot. There were times where I could bring it back up really easily, and there were times where it was much harder to bring back up. So I'm not going to say it was all sunshine and rainbows, but for the most part, I will say that I was able to run my business because of the way I could hold the paradox of what was going on personally and then publicly.
Mhm.
And so last year, as I, moved out of my parents' home, moved out of like the family home into my parents' home and then moved into my own apartment with the kids, I'm sure there were people who could see something. And I remember telling my clients who were in the mastermind container and my one-on-one, I think around the time I was moving into my parents' home for a few months, I'm pretty sure I told my clients in who I was working with in case things had to shift or change schedule wise, there was like a smaller group of people within the business who knew what was going on. But I only made that announcement once I was settled in my new apartment, which I would say was in May or June of last year. So I would say 6, 7, 8 months after the separation. And there was no reason other than I just didn't want to yet. And I was completely fine. I didn't say, like, I haven't told you something and I need, like, I just was like, hey, this is what's been going on. And I felt when I shared it, I was so proud of where I was at in my life and business. And I remember I did a carousel of, the new apartment and the beach where I was living and like the boxes. And then and like me, I remember there was a shot of me on the couch, like my beautiful new squishy couch of my dreams couch. And I was like, I can exhale and I can share this from a space of feeling so grounded, so proud, so trusting of where I'm at. Um, and and there were still things that I would share over that time about where I was at in my life, but it just wasn't like the details or the specifics of what was going on.
Yeah. And was there any aspect of when you did share it, did you find, did people project onto you? Were they like, oh my God, you're going through such a big thing? I mean, it is a big thing. I think even I know my message to you was try to honor that and celebrate you. And then I was like,
Yes.
maybe this isn't a celebration, but just in case it is,
No, I loved
yay.
your message. And I think, and people were so, like that post, I remember got such incredible engagement. It's a weird word to use, but like just filled with love.
Like
Just so,
engagement, the real kind of engagement that I wish social media was actually about, if
yes,
we can call it
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Just people sending me love and people saying like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm so proud of you. And you like just beautiful, beautiful messages, DMs. It was just like I felt so able to receive the love that I got from sharing that because I was ready to share that with in air quotes Instagram. Obviously, like the people physically near me knew what was going on and where I was at, but and also I had assumed people would possibly understand, move back into my parents. Like there were things that people could have seen, multiple moves, like leaving the family home. There one person I remember, or a couple people said I thought something was going on. Like I didn't want to say anything, but possibly it was people could sense something. But also on social media, we never really are following along as much as
Mm.
we are like, yeah, everyone's busy with with their own life. But I did receive so much, and I felt so happy that I'd shared then because I was so ready to share it.
I'm so glad to hear that. And
Yeah.
I really do think it is a testament of the way that you honored your truth and you honored your timeline.
Mm.
Because I know I have certainly coached clients when they have come to session and been like, I shared a thing, and people are like in my inbox or in my DMs going, "Oh, are you okay?" Or they try and share maybe a vulnerable post, even if it's within their niche, and they're telling their own story, maybe of why they
Yes.
do the work they do, and then they get messages of people being like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And it's like, you missed the point. I'm sharing
Yeah.
the story so I can show you the transformation.
Yes.
And I'm always very interested in a compassion for when that happens, because it can just be very frustrating. But
Mm.
I always I my philosophy on that is, if we find that, I mean, there's two aspects. On one hand, the internet is the fucking internet and it's the Wild
Yeah.
West out there. So
Yeah.
like, don't we can't take everything to heart. And is there an opportunity to look at, was it actually in integrity, or was it in obligation, or were we
Yes.
maybe doing a little bit from a wound instead of a scar that's fully healed? And even, big things like your separation, even things like when I left the UK,
Mm.
and that's like a sexy story to like, I'm traveling, I'm a digital nomad. But then even I got a bit like, oh, I don't know if it's okay with me to share these other people's houses that I'm living in. And this, like, I'm loving the lifestyle, I'd share glimpses of it, but it didn't feel
Yeah.
appropriate for me to be like, I'm enjoying someone else's hot tub, even though part of me was like, I want to show that I'm in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Like, I felt the, I didn't find it easy to know where I stood with it. And
Yeah.
so if in doubt, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be sharing this crazy amounts in order to sell what I want to sell.
Yes.
And I think it's something I'm exploring at the moment on the podcast. And next week's episode will be a deep dive into this. But I really honored the way that you spoke about it. And I think it's
Yeah.
testament to how you did it, that it worked out well for you.
Yes. Thank you. And do you know what I'll say to that? I learned years ago. So I know some people will say, write and share. You know, when you write and share, you're going to be healing and you'll help someone else. And I agree with that if you have already processed it and integrated it. So what I'll say is, again, I'm going to kind of go like work within the gray area here. When I
Mm.
write something, I process it more deeply as I write it, because I'm going to be somatically, not just logically, but somatically processing what I'm saying, because it runs through me like this when I'm writing. So it's running through my whole body from like head, throat, heart, then out through my hands, and there's lots of heart channels up here. So it's coming through my heart as it comes out my hands into the laptop. So I'm going to be processing more as I write, but if I will never hit publish on something that feels very charged for me because I've not yet processed it. And I learned years ago, I had an experience with, it sounds so dull now, but at the time it was quite charged, with a service provider who was doing something for me on my website. And there was actually a beautiful lesson in it. Like, it reminds you of like a LinkedIn lesson. Like, my coffee order was 4 minutes late. Here are 7 reasons why you can, like, like that kind of thing, where like a random thing happens, but then you get a really beautiful insight from the experience. And I wrote about this, but I hadn't processed it. I was supercharged, and had that service provider read the email, 100% they would have known it was about them, right? The next day I was like, oh, I can't do this. It's not, my nervous system is not able to cope with this, and I'm not ready to share this, and I've not processed it. And it's one thing to share something that's vulnerable, or that feels a little bit edgy, or that pushes you into a bit of a, as Brene Brown would say, a vulnerability hangover. Like, I'm fine. I can, if I'm processing it and I can stretch and my nervous system can meet the edges of that vulnerability, I'm good. If I'm feeling activated by this, it's that is not, that for me is the marker of this is gone. This is too much. So for me, I would rather process things through my writing in my journal, and then be like, oh, am I ready to share this now? If I can't do that in a way that feels accessible without pushing through discomfort that feels too much for my nervous system, then I know I'm not ready to share it yet. if I feel like, oh, if people ask me questions, I'm going to be too activated. If I feel too worried about what someone's going to think, that's again, I'm too activated. So my first thing, as you were saying to me, I've got clients who've done this and they feel, what you were saying. The first thing that dropped in for me was, I wonder if they were ready to share it, because if you're fully sharing from within your power, of course, as you said, the internet is the internet. People are going to be like, "Rah, rah, rah," like say whatever they're going to say. But there's a difference when you're like, I'm sharing this truth from my truth. And you will have people, I didn't really have anyone project onto me. I did have a few people message me and ask a bit more of like the story, and share where they were at, because they were in a really vulnerable spot. And I could kind of provide a bit of, I won't say support, feels like a big word, but just hold space for a moment with whatever they were moving through.
Mm.
But for me, that's the marker. Can I speak this truth without feeling overly activated? Can my nervous system hold the sharing of this truth? Yes, good. I'm ready to share it. If I can't hold that, if I feel too activated, I haven't processed that enough to share it in a way that's going to feel safe for me. And I can do two things at once. I can push the edges of my vulnerability and feel safe to share it. And if I can't do both at once, I'm not ready to share it. B, I might never share it, which is also possible.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
really important thing to remember as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Or one more thing on that is that you can actually share that in a way where you have no idea, the reader has no idea what situation you're talking about.
Mm,
You're bringing it back to emotions, not
mm.
details.
That's a really, really good point too.
Yeah. You don't have to
Yeah.
say, last week I went to the shops, I dropped my coffee. You can be like, there might be a time where something happens that you weren't prepared for, right?
Yes.
Like you just change the story.
Yeah, that's actually something that I probably lean into more often is I could have something happen in the most obscure of place,
Yeah.
and I will see a parallel with the kind of things my clients go through, or business growth, or things that I've gone through in business, and through that the wisdom comes through. And
Yes, exactly.
like a practical way of looking at that, I noticed with my writing, I feel like it's been such a long time since I've written the way I used to. I used to do daily emails to my subscribers. I haven't done that for nearly 18 months now. But I noticed when I was writing, I would write a blog's worth. It would be like true storytelling, wisdom, like exploration, the business wisdom through it. And I realized that I was kind of just deleting the first two paragraphs because it was like all the preamble to get to the point.
Yes.
And that became a really powerful practice in my program messaging mastery that actually became like a writing hack that I
Yes.
advised people. You'll probably find, and especially captions, like we write differently, and AI is creating a different style of writing these days,
Yeah.
even when you are writing fully yourself. You'll probably find the first two lines, if not the first two paragraphs of a caption, are probably not necessary, and you can
Right.
probably find the point like way further down. Bring that
Yes.
to the front, and then you can like let go of why you're there and focus
Yes.
on the power of what you're trying to share and
Yeah.
the wisdom that you're trying to express.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love it.
shall we do a little EFT to
Yes.
round up?
Yeah. So I'll tell you some of the notes I've written down.
Okay.
Um, and also just to say, I always feel when I do any kind of like group work, group coaching, but also podcast episodes where there's like shifting, like big energy moving, my face gets really hot. And that's happened here. So like we've already shifted. Whoever's listening, like something's already clicked, process shifted, because I feel it through it's going up and down. So here are the words I've written. So you said before, like peace and calm among the storm. So I feel like I want to bring that in. I wrote emotion. I just wrote very just words. I wrote emotions and feel, perfect timing, expansion, confidence. But I also want to write here, just like you said, kind of speaking from, sorry for the camera moving, speaking from power and truth. Um, and I think what I'll do also briefly is pull a card from my deck. So if you're listening to the podcast, um, what will I say to you to do? Possibly just tap on your collarbone point if you're listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, just follow along visually with where we're tapping.
And
And
while you pull a card, let me just tell the audience, most people will probably know, but
yeah,
EFT, emotional freedom technique, Cassie, you do it a lot now, right? And check out Cassie's YouTube. She's got some beautiful EFTs. Is that the term?
Yeah,
EFTs on it?
tapping videos.
Tapping videos.
Yeah.
Um, for my clients, for context, I do this privately when I
Yes.
do EFT, it's the few times I've done EFT in the last few months, it has been in the dead of night, normally when I'm awake and I have a specific brain dumping journaling practice that I do when I've got a lot going on in my head.
Mm.
Pre-bedtime, my clients will know this already. But if I'm doing tapping, it's normally in the middle of the night because I need to clear it. I don't do it as proactively as I probably should. But at the beginning of my business, fun fact, I did it religiously, but almost with every single client, with every single session. And I don't know why I stopped doing it, but I loved the poetry of it. I loved the way that you'd have 30, 40 minutes of a coaching session. And just as you just did, you pick up the key phrases, the key themes, the transformational journey, and then you kind of round it off in this beautiful EFT.
Yeah.
Every time I do it, I think to myself, I need to do more of it. So I'm so very grateful that we're going to do this today. And hopefully, it'll start watering the seed of tapping as a modality I should really do more of in my own coaching. But
Amazing. So it's
yes,
good timing for you as well then.
yes, thank you.
So good. So I just pulled the card. The first one that came out hilariously is boredom. Now,
Mm,
I feel like, I mean, and this will come up to whoever's watching and listening. You'll have your own understanding of like why boredom has come up for you in this moment. It's in, I'm just going to go up to if you happen to have my cards at home, it's card 71 for anyone playing along at home. And I'm just going to tell you, it's in the wood meridian and the wood element, gallbladder meridian. And wood is very much about what we're building and growing. So you think of like using wood to build a house or using wood to build a bench that you said, like it's new beginnings, it's growth, it's what you're moving into. And then gallbladder is about decisions and our choices and our awareness. And so it's kind of what we spoke about before. I felt fear, but I made the decision to move anyway. Your mastermind is called decided. It's like I can feel fear, but the gallbladder is ruling my decision-making process and my it says here like being able to fully express ourselves. And if we can't fully express ourselves, we feel frustrated. If we can't fully express ourselves, we might be feeling bored. So I'm seeing boredom as like that energy of stagnation when things feel stuck. But actually, we're going to bring it back to the energy of decision making. What are you not deciding? What are you not doing? How are you not showing up and acting in the way you want to? And this beautiful wood energy, which is all about new beginnings, flexibility, growth. Like, what are you? I write here, it's about healing. It represents growth, what's taking root, and where you need to support something that's growing in your business, in your life. It's where new forms, new cycles, new creations are blooming. So it's all about the new. Love it.
interesting.
And then because I was like, let's have some more information in case that wasn't supportive enough, I pulled a second card, and the second card is anxiety. It's in water and kidney. Anxiety, obviously, we know overthinking, worrying. Water, the energy of water is about, I'm going to read it to you, card 55. It's really about like renewal. And also, I'm going to say growth, but from the energy of like, nourishment, like what is being able to grow because it's being nourished. I write here it's about your inner strength, your internal resources. It's also where creativity is, creative wisdom. It's where I write here intuition, connectivity, and the flow of life. And then this beautiful kidney meridian speaks to, stores our essence. It stores like the pilot light. So it's where we can like switch things on and get things moving when things feel stagnant or bored or stuck. The kidneys also, there's a point here. Oh, so interesting. This is where I say you like can't make this stuff up. The point that I was saying here to tap under the collarbone is actually K27 point, which is a kidney point, which is where we would hold or tap or rub if I was doing a kinesiology balance and we were going to be working with kidney energy to help release stored fears or blocks and help you feel more connected to the flow and the stream of life. And so that's where kidneys coming up. It also says here the kidneys pull energy from the lungs. Basically, the water and kidney is like releasing fears, releasing stress, releasing blocks, helping you tap back into creativity, going with the flow. So I'm going to bring those two in.
Perfect.
If you have water near you, can everyone take a sip, please?
I always drink so much on podcast
Same, so much.
episodes.
And then when I'm doing energy balancing work and I get so thirsty afterwards. All right, we can do some tapping. So if you're driving, You can tap, just use one hand on the wheel, please. One hand on collarbone point. And if you're watching the video, just follow along with me. You can't get this wrong. So if you miss a point, skip a point, you just do you.
And I'll
The
just follow
intention
along
is
too.
always.
I won't say
Yeah, you
anything. I'll
follow
just
along.
follow along.
You can either put yourself on mute and say it out loud, or you can just say it in your head, or you can say it out loud on the video, like whatever feels good for you. Most of my clients mute themselves and then say it out loud. But you just do whatever you feel
Oh,
good
girl, I
for.
suddenly get a bit of performance anxiety. I'm like, oh, do I
You Why
say
don't
it
you just
out loud on the...
keep it loud and then just say it in your head as I say it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, or afterwards. I leave a pause. Apparently, my YouTube watchers, some of them say I speak too fast or I don't give the pause enough. I think it's because when I'm doing a tapping video as the client, as the person starts speaking, I start repeating. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I will give pause. I will give space for a pause. So
Okay.
taking a deep breath in, everyone. And if you're watching YouTube, I'm tapping on the side of my hand. But as I said, if you're not watching, just tapping under the collarbone is probably the simplest for now. Even though I've been feeling, so again, I'm going to kind of go by the cards and the vibe of today. Even though I've been feeling like there's just so much going on for me right now, I'm really ready to start processing that with so much love and acceptance for exactly where I am. Even though I'm not quite sure how to feel more settled in my business right now. I'm ready to find a really calm and clear way forward because I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I've been feeling a little bit anxious with my work, I'm ready to breathe that out, accessing my flow instead, and really trusting that I can release this stress with so much love and acceptance. And then we're going to move to the next point if you're watching. I get to actually walk through my business right now with so much peace. Next point. There's this beautiful calm amongst the storm. And even though I might not have every piece or step figured out yet, I'm really able to trust where I am. I'm going to access this beautiful wood energy of growth and new beginnings. And I trust that I can make really clear decisions no matter my mood. I know that, actually, I'm going to reword that. I don't need to be high vibe to make decisions steeped in growth. I know I don't need to be high vibe to take really aligned action towards what I'm working on. And I'm actually just going to let myself hold two truths at once. That sometimes I might feel fear, and I can feel expansion at the same time. The presence of fear doesn't mean I'm on the wrong path or that I've done something wrong. So often the presence of fear is just what I feel right before my next expansion. And so I'm going to trust the timing of this. I'm going to trust that I believe in myself enough today to create what's next for tomorrow. I'm going to let myself speak up from so much truth and power. And I'm going to let myself build my business with confidence in myself, confidence in my actions, confidence in my ability to create peace no matter what's going on outside. And confidence in my ability to lean into expansion even if fear exists. I do not need to get this done perfectly to get it done. I do not need to show up perfectly for my work to land with the right people. I get to trust that everything I'm working on will come through in perfect timing. And I get to tap into beautiful possibility energy from my power and truth. Then we're going to tap our wrists together and we're going to say, or something even better. And then deep breath in and out, and just hands on your heart or belly or lap, wherever, and just take a few breaths and just let yourself land here. And just notice how you feel now. Notice how your energy feels. Notice if your breathing feels more settled, slower, possibly just taking longer, deeper breaths. And just take a moment to receive any guidance or insight from that session or the podcast in its wholeness. And feel how that lands in your body, how your energy feels just outside your body as well, how you've made space for something new to land in or rush in, how you've cleared something that was in the way, possibly something that you weren't even aware of, but there's a difference now, there's a shift. And then take another deep breath in and out, and you can open your eyes whenever you're ready.
Cassie. Oh my gosh, you're an angel. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Wow. And as
How
I,
do you feel after that, if I
oh,
can ask you on
I
your own podcast?
I feel, well, thank you. I hear you on the heat piece. It's like
Mm,
a lot of heat has been generated, which is always interesting. I can't help but notice the beautiful beams of light that have been there the entire episode. But when I opened my eyes just then, it was like extra illuminated. Um, well, we haven't spoken so much about what I'm going through in my business right now. This also isn't a coaching session. God damn it. I wish it was, but it felt perfectly aligned to
Great.
what I need coming. Well, I said to you before we hit record, I said, come back from 3 weeks on holiday. I feel like I'm just arriving, and
Mm,
looking forward is I could do with opening back to possibility and seeing what wants
mm,
to come through. So everything you did in that just elevated what we'd spoke about in our conversation already, but it was so perfect for where I am too. So thank you.
amazing. My pleasure.
So
My
good.
pleasure.
I feel blissed out, as I always do after speaking with you. So, to finish, how can people find you? Obviously, they've probably already found you on the Love What You Create podcast, if that's where you're listening today. And if you're not listening on that podcast, go check out that podcast. But where else can people find you and work with you?
So my and work with me. So my website is CassieMendoza-Jones.com. And that's the same as my Instagram, Cassie Mendoza-Jones. And as you said, I've got lots of YouTube videos, tapping videos, some coaching. And so I would say website, Instagram, YouTube, and of course my podcast. And then to work with me on my website, they'll find my offers there. And yeah, and I've got some beautiful, like a free course on tapping into enoughness. It's a
Mm.
5-day course to help you just step out of like I would say they're the five main beliefs I see in my clients often, like, things work out for other people and not me, and I have to keep working harder and harder for this to work. So we work through five core beliefs, and this can apply to business or life. It's not just coaching. So that's on the website as well.
And you have a membership at the moment. I don't know
The
if the doors are
membership,
open, but that I
they
believe
are right
that's.
now.
Oh, they are. Oh, girl, we got to
They
tell
are.
the world then. Say more.
So I have a beautiful membership right now called Breathe and Receive, where we do this work every week. So the way I've built, and actually this is quite a fun coaching, like there's lessons built into how I've structured this as a single mom with two little kids. And I usually have the kids for almost like the whole week from like, Sunday to a Friday. So for me, I had to build in a scalable, light on my system product offer rather that meets the needs of my clients and meets the needs of my life right now in terms of my capacity. So I've built this beautiful membership whereby there's weekly support through fortnightly coaching calls. So everyone arrives live and I'll be like, how's everyone feeling? Tell me. And they either come on, off mute or type into the chat. And I build a bit of a picture and a story of where everyone's at. There's always a theme, as you know, with a group call. Like, even what we did today, my client before, same vibe. How do I settle into my business? I can see what's there, and I want to feel grounded and settled here, so I can build towards that and hold two truths at once. So same vibe. And so we do that, and then we do big clearing, tapping, kinesiology, NLP work like that. And then the alternate week, I do a pre-recorded, I call it the belief balance drop. So a pre-recorded session where I'm taking information from what I'm seeing in my life, in my client calls, and in the group calls as well. And instead of a community space in the membership, there's a beautiful form that people can fill out whenever they want. That I've energetically made this form so as someone fills it out, they get a clearing, they get like a response, like something gets shifted from them. But I also get information about where they're at, what they want to work on, what's feeling stuck, what's working. And I use that information to build in the theme of this belief balance drop. And I do like a 20-minute pre-recorded energy balancing session based on the energy of that week. And that drops on the alternate week of the membership. And there's a one-on-one upgrade in that as well. So I've been working with that. We're in our fourth month now, or fourth or fifth month. And it's just so beautiful because I can arrive and share and show up and support my clients in the work. But I'm not then needing to do a huge amount of back end to upkeep the program. So this is just like me showing the behind the scenes of like how I built, speaking of start to scale. And that was really important for me in this stage of my life, like an offer that feels amazing to my clients and to me. Because my whole thing, even my podcast, love what you create. I'm the biggest proponent that you have to love what you've built first, because you're the one opening the door every day, turning the lights on, popping the kettle on. And so that's how I built Breathe and Receive. So a big part of Breathe and Receive is tapping into possibility energy, tapping into what you want to create in your business, in your life, and doing so in a way that's light on your system, where we can clear stresses and blocks, tap back into belief and possibility energy, but without having to grip and being like, I need to solve this problem at 2 a.m. or it will never happen. It's like, no, there's so many ways this can happen. Let's keep coming back to how you want to feel, how you want to show up, being what's in your, not power, what's within your power versus what are you trying to control. And then we find all the blocks, tap it all away, take a deep breath. And at the end of every session, I'm like, okay, breathe and receive. What are you breathing in and out? And what are you letting yourself receive? And it's just so beautiful. Like I've had clients say they've never been part of a group that feels like such an exhale on their system. And it's a way where also my clients can receive support without needing to like be in a group or like there's no pings or notifications. The energy of the space is calming in how I've structured it for me and the client. So yes, that's my little spiel on Breathe and Receive, because it's just been so lovely to build a membership in a way that's a little bit off the beaten track. It's not how a lot of offers are built, as we know, in the online world. And I built offers for years one way, and this is just a new way for me right now, and it's working really beautifully.
I love that. And the link will be in the show notes.
Amazing.
So we'll make sure we put that in as well. And for everyone listening who wants to connect with me, you can find me at Coaching with Pamela. That's Pamela with 2 L's on all the things. And after coming back from my 3 weeks off to Europe and Asia, I found that my business resources bundle has had a resurgence, which is amazing to see. So it's still such
Amazing.
a popular download. So
Yes.
definitely go check that out. And it's basically the one-stop shop for every freebie I've ever made.
Oh my
When I
gosh.
say freebie, there are like full trainings. The visibility series is in there as well for anybody who wants to get more visible in their business and use video more powerfully and confidently. It is, yeah, it's a great bundle. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the show notes as well.
So good.
My one-to-one is actually fully booked. Oh, it feels crazy to say that. I've been saying
Amazing.
that for a couple of months now. So the next availability to work with me and only way to work with me right now is July. Yes, at the time of this recording. So
Amazing.
reach out, explore if that's going to work for you. And if you want to, then we can secure your spot for July, which is the earliest availability to work with me,
So
which
good.
feels very abundant to say.
Amazing. I love it.
Life is good. So, yeah, that's us. That's a wrap, Cassie. Oh my God.
So
Thank
good.
you. I've
Thank you.
loved
I love
this.
same so much.
Ah, it's been incredible. All right. Everyone else, I'll see you in the next episode.